Oh no, Mike wasn't on just yet, but Mike is on now. Mike is on now. Collab, glorious collab. So great that you're
Yes,
here.
collab.
Uh-huh. So many times we had wanted this for our individual channels. Now we just have it with each other.
Ah, yes, we have waited long for this day, which probably actually isn't too long in hindsight, and if you get into the technical things about it, you'll
Oh
see what
no,
I mean.
it's only the third half of the whole year. That's probably how
Yeah,
long
and,
that we
and
waited. Yeah.
yeah, I'm very incredibly surprised of how fast like the year's even gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's gonna be like Christmas in 5 days.
I don't even like to think about it.
Ugh,
Time keeps marching on.
man.
Time keeps marching on. You're older than you've ever been, and now you're even older.
Yes, and then yes, older.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. Well, let's actually get in some good music.
Yeah.
Never gets tired of that. This is the
Oh,
thing
yes,
that you,
indeed.
yeah, when you are a content creator, this is the thing
Yes, you
that you
live for it.
anticipate. Yeah, this is what you anticipate the most in life is having your own theme music.
Yes.
Still really happy for Otto for composing that one for us.
I know, right?
He's a swell guy. Well, we'll try to see if we can
I
get
know,
him in
so
for these
swell.
collabs as well.
Yeah, along with Marin too.
Mm-hmm. So right now is that VTube Studio is really just at a max of 4 people, so we can
Yeah, so that's pretty much enough for all of us, huh?
team brainy originality, and then we need somebody in order to design all the live 2D models, which
Yeah.
and
And
we're
my pal Delta can help with that, of course.
yeah, he certainly can. All right,
Yeah, I mean,
well,
just look how well he made mine.
oh yeah, so um, let's not keep an ornery, anticipatory audience waiting. Let's go ahead and let's go on now. Oops. Well,
Yes, let's just do that.
I'd hope for the map transition, but oh well. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Brady the RPG Cat. I'm Brady, and I am joined today in a momentous fashion by my close friend, sidekick, apprentice, party member. This does so much for us and so much for us here at the channel. So this is QB.
Yes, hello, it is me. It is good to be here, Brainaby.
So yeah, so we've got an opportunity in order to bring this to you through VTube Studios collab model for the very first time. And as we were just saying in the intro, we're looking forward to a moment to which we can bring all 4 party members in the same way, and just have them all uh, represented by full live 2D avatars.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And so this model was created by Delta. Delta. Oh,
Yep, a Delta Muse.
we just said the name. I'm already spacing on the name. I mean, come on. All right. So, oh wow, you look great. Well, other than the malfunctioning overlay, and I'm still working on trying to figure out where that's coming from. But thank you everybody for
Yeah,
tuning in.
essentially.
Thank you to OS Devin for tuning in. Yeah, we'll just ignore that. All right, so tonight we are going to be doing tabletop lore. And so first off, I've always wanted this to be a collaboration show because it gets a little lonely reading 500-page tabletop manuals all by yourself.
Of course, sometimes you have to drag someone else along with you.
Yeah, precisely. Oh, OS Devin. Thank you very much for your subscription. Well, for being subscribed for 4 months. I mean, you've been kind enough to stay on as a subscriber for 4 months.
Yes, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. All right, so tonight on Tabletop Lore, I mean, once again, we have to address a giant Wizards of the Coast related elephant in the room. For those of you who know, I've been pulling double duty as a streamer, and I've also been making QB pull double duty as a streamer. We're over on Facebook.com/Heckler the Jester, and we were just among some of the YouTube videos where we were watching was the one about the unfortunate recent news surrounding Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, and the future of the Dungeons and Dragons platform. We're going to be watching that video again. This is obviously more of a better forum for that than the silly comic book store related show. So we're going to look at that, and then immediately afterwards, we are going to look at probably one of the most well put together and elaborate unofficial concepts in all of tabletop RPGs. We are going to look at Pokemon, the tabletop game.
Yes, otherwise known as the Pokemon Tabletop Unite, or
Yeah.
PTU for short.
Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be getting into, just really the history and how that came into that. That's just going to be a part of the reading tonight. But let's go ahead and let's head over to the big screen and start with our discussion of the current state of Dungeons and Dragons. All right, so see, there we go. Now we got the transition going. Make sure I have the closed captions on, although we're probably not going to see it because we're both in the way of the screen right now. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, also, yeah, maybe if I just keep it that high, that would probably be the best way to do it. And make sure I turn off this delightful little polka. That'll be a lot more useful when we're reading as opposed to watching videos. All right. So this is the video Dungeons & Dragons is on life support. It is by Dungeon Craft. It was posted 2 days ago. Already has something in the neighborhood of 60,000 views.
Oh, by the way, Brady, did you start the streaming over here in the Discord? What is it? I can't quite.
Oh, sorry about that.
Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor Dungeon.
Oh, it's quite all
from the Wall
quite
Street
all right.
Journal.
We all make
Hasbro plans
mistakes.
to lay off
We had the screen sharing going on a little while ago,
this
just
after
not now.
reduction of 800 positions earlier this year,
Yes.
20% of their workforce. Chief Executive Chris Cox said the move was spurred by
All right,
weaker
there
than
we go.
expected toy sales through the first 9 months of the year, which came after sales hit historic pandemic-driven highs. The market headwinds we anticipated have proven to be stronger.
Toy sales were a lot during the pandemic, and now they're not anymore.
The current environment demands
Yeah, it's very low
more.
indeed,
And
huh,
bad news
baby?
doesn't stop there.
Mhm.
This comes the same week as Dungeons & Dragons Warriors of Krynn board game and campaign case terrain hit Ollie's discount stores.
In all honesty, I want to go ahead and start searching for the low-cost Warriors of Krynn board game because I already got the related book
Beyond
for it.
producer and host Amy Dallin. Magic designer David McDarby, Chris Lindsay.
Happy holidays, everyone. Happy holidays to you too,
5th
Devin.
edition lead designer
Yes, happy holidays,
Mike
happy you,
Merles,
whatever
who
the heck
joins
you're
the
gonna be
pantheon of
celebrating.
great D&D
I
designers
don't know.
like Dave Arneson and Gary
I mean,
Gygax,
either
who
way,
have
you do
the
you.
distinction of having been fired from the company after doing groundbreaking stuff. After the misstep of 4th edition, Merles was able to take the best elements of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition and make the 5th edition.
Here's to many more wonderful days.
Most played edition of Dungeons
Plenty
and Dragons
more.
ever.
Precisely.
And many more.
2 more weeks till the New Year's. Many more wonderful days.
Very generous death saves, short rests,
Yes,
long
indeed.
rests. But to me, that stuff is fluff. The uniform core mechanic of 5th edition D&D is terrific. It's super accessible and very well written. Look, I loved basic Malve D&D and always will, but there's no question that 5th edition is more consistent, more readable, and accessible and understandable than any other edition of the game. And
imagine that, you know, if you make an encyclopedia of books, it contains much more information than we hope to if we resort to AI in the cloud.
People who were let go at Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. Personally,
Yeah,
I think C-suite
you don't
should
say.
go first. After all, it's
You
their
do not
decision-making
say, indeed.
that has put this company in this situation.
You took the other line from me. That's precisely what I was going to say next. You don't say indeed.
Executive compensation in 2022. $2 million of this was
Yeah, I took your
salary,
line.
and the rest was stock awards and options, which are now
And yeah, and how ironic, like over 1,000 layoffs, and meanwhile, well, the CEO is just making $9.4 million.
It's a pretty ugly trend, you know, when it comes to United States businesses these days. You know,
it is common for layoffs to come
the guy who tanked,
pulling a Scrooge, literally.
Yeah, pretty much. The guy who tanked Toys R Us
knew about them and
got a
took
big
his
buyout.
$2 million salary.
The guy who is in the process of tanking Warner Brothers,
the first is
getting a big buyout.
Headwinds were more than expected.
Yep, same thing with
Sure,
Disney.
D&D blew up because of COVID. When times are good, companies need to hoard cash. It's corporate leadership's job to anticipate a downturn. Some people have said RPG sales are down. I just came back from PAX. That is not true. Third-party publishers are doing better than ever. On Kickstarter,
Well, that's because they're third-party publishers and they have a vested interest in actually putting out product for money.
MCDM RPG, that's a lot of letters. $3 million in a week. Crowdfunding for RPGs is booming. I've seen people on X saying all Hasbro
Yeah, I've seen
cares
Mr.
about is the
Krabs will pull
shareholders,
less
but
sleazy
the
stuff than
shareholders
me.
can't be happy. Look at this 2-year chart. It's a disaster. And if I may, some advice to shareholders. Once a year, you get a proxy vote, and you can vote on the board as well as advisory votes on things like executive compensation. In 2022, Alta Fox, an activist group of investors with a stake in Hasbro, tried to spin off Wizards, expressing concern about the company's finances. Just a year ago, they had a proxy.
Oh, you know, there were a lot of hopefuls when that was
Magic
announced.
Player onto the board.
Oh,
And
yeah,
they were
so much
defeated.
hope.
That means Hasbro
Down the
shareholders
drain.
Please,
voted
please,
for the
please
status
take
quo.
Wizards away
Wars
from
didn't fill
Hasbro.
out their ballots, and now
Yep,
the
and
company's in the
spoiler
position
alert,
that it's in.
they
Now let's talk
didn't.
reality. Let's talk about the 3 biggest factors in these layoffs. Mattel has Barbie, but the G.I. Joe film series is effectively dead. Transformers Rise of the Beasts was the lowest grossing film in the franchise.
Yeah, who
and
could
failed
see
to
all
move
of this
merchandise.
coming?
And the D&D
Like, who can imagine that treating your audience like actual garbage could make you go bankrupt?
Money from it, but not as much as Larian Studios, who
Say,
negotiated
note to
these
self, look for
contracts
those bargain bin
years
movie
before
figures
D&D
in
blew
hopes
up
that there
in
might be some
popularity.
D6s in
Number
them.
2, the OGL scandal.
Yeah,
hurt
might as
them.
well save
It
them
led
from
to
the
canceled
landfills all their
subscriptions,
toys
and
are
so
going
far,
in.
those people have not returned. And 3, D&D 5.5, or whatever they're calling the edition now, is largely complete. I played the VTT at PAX a couple of weeks ago, and I can tell you it is far better looking and far farther along than anyone thinks. There was an accidental leak that said the D&D core books are coming in May of 2024. It's not confirmed, but it tracks with what I saw with
Oh,
the
also the internet
VTT.
doesn't
Even if
forget.
they
Like,
say
remember
they're
when they were having
playtesting,
like
the
another?
rules
We're
are
going to plan like
largely set.
another
It
live
has to be
stream,
for the
and like
programmers to
everyone
program
who
the
showed
game
up in that
properly. And
chat
books
just
need
kept
to be
spamming
proved
about the
once in
Pinkertons
advance.
that
If
they
they're
sent
getting rid of
after a
art
guy.
directors, it suggests the core.
I mean, well,
rules
that's
are
magic in a
already
slightly
and I
unrelated. What's
expect
more
more
imminent
cuts to
is the
come,
fact
because as
that, you
this
know, they
game
just
rolls
really
out,
tried
they're going
to
need fewer and fewer people as
retroactively
they
delete
switch
all of the
into
community
maintenance
rules
mode. Hasbro
for
Wizards
Dungeons
has
and
been very
Dragons.
clear, this is not a new version of the game. They want an evergreen edition.
Yes,
The
also there
C-suite
was
sees
some
D&D
other
like
incidents
Monopoly.
where
Every couple of years,
streams were
there's a
canceled due
new
to
edition of
everybody
Monopoly,
spamming things
and
like
all that's
open
done is they swap
D&D.
out an iron for a cat in a helicopter, and they changed the
And
community
as this video
chest
mentioned
cards.
before,
Once the D&D
where they
core
actually
rulebooks are
got
uploaded
WotC to
onto
list it,
D&D
and when they
Beyond,
started
can
like
change
canceling all
those
their
books
D&D
whenever
Beyond
they wish.
subscriptions.
If the game doesn't require huge changes moving forward, you don't need as many staff. All you have to do is reskin the classics, Tyranny of Dragons, Strahd, and maybe the Tomb of Horrors and Saltmarsh.
Of
Just
course, it's
reskin
not,
that every couple
oh,
of
we'll
years
change our
and
ways list, and
resell
it's
it.
more
That's
like,
why I predict
hey,
more cuts to
you know
come, and
you're
once the
going to get
DBT is up and
everything
running,
burned
then
down,
the
right?
developers will be let go. So I see
So
people
this is
asking,
another
"Will they ever
ugly
sell Dungeons and
little
Dragons?"
recall
No, there's no
that I
way
don't
they're
think
going
that
to
we
sell
had
this
discussed
game
when we
because
had
they see
talked
it
about
as
this
the only
again
way to
this
pull out of
past
this
morning.
nosedive they're in.
Is
Magic
that
is already red hot
what
and
is
firing
effectively
on all
being
cylinders.
suggested
Improved
here is
20%
that, you know,
last year, 20%
they
the year
continue to
before.
take
How much
version 5
faster
and they
could it
just
grow?
continue to
Dungeons and
re-release
Dragons is the
it
only
in
brand
terms
Hasbro
of,
has
you
that
know,
has the
similar books
potential
and
for
similar artwork in
explosive
said
growth.
books,
Check out D&D
which of course
Beyond.
gave them
Look
the
at
freedom
Yeah,
to
I've
just go
heard
ahead
that
and
one of
lay
those
off.
books
The
that
GM has a
accidentally had
laptop. Only
AI
one
art
player
in
has
it.
a player's handbook, and he's using his phone
And,
for it.
you know,
I'm
that
not
just
sure
kind of
why.
gives them a
He's got
free
a listed
license
set of
to
dice, but the
just go ahead
tagline
and
reads,
lay off all of
D&D
the artists
Beyond
who
makes
worked on those
playing
books.
easy. Register
Mm-hmm.
for
It seems
free.
to me that
This is professional
Hasbro is
level
trying way
Madison
too
Avenue
hard to
persuasion.
try
The
to
first
please
thing
the
you want to do
wrong
when selling is
kind of
remove all
things,
objections.
like the
What
wrong
is
kind
the
of people. You
objection to
feel me?
D&D? The
Hmm.
first is
Like,
it's
look,
got a
it's great
reputation
that you
of being
guys want to
complex, and the second
give
is any
everybody
sort
like
of price. But
accidental
in this case,
racism that was in
you're
the
playing
previous
for
books, but
free. Wizard CEO
look,
Cynthia Williams
you're
has said the
actively
brand is
like
undermonetized,
talking
and the
bad
company
about your
wants to, quote,
customers. You're trying to
unlock
like
the
make
recurrent
them
revenue
give you
stream
money
seen in
in
video
order to
games.
make
So what does a
fan made
recurrent
content.
revenue stream
I think your
look like
priorities are in the right
exactly? A
order.
lot of people assume it's microtransactions.
Well,
like
you
different
know,
skins where you
to
can
be
buy
fair, they
magic
weren't
weapons,
actually
but
trying
having
to
played
say
the
that
VTT,
about
I
their
don't think so.
customers.
I
It's
think
just
it's
that
just a
CEOs were
subscription
quoted
service,
about saying
like
that sort of thing in
Roblox.
public
It costs
anyway.
$4.99 for the basic version,
Yeah,
$9.99 for the premium version. And at first, I think they're going to
but
give it away
still.
for free with free trial memberships. Now, I know there's a certain number of game masters who are going to
Let me
say,
see.
well, I play Foundry, I have Owlbear
Devin
Radio,
says
I
they're
don't need
doing the
any of
only
that
thing that they
stuff.
can
That may
do,
be
water the
true, but
game
what's going to
down
happen when your
indefinitely until there's
players
nothing
sign
to
up
appeal to
and
the
they keep
widest
wanting to
audience
play with the
possible.
latest evergreen edition of the rules, which are always going to be changing? What are you going to do when your player shows up with
Yeah,
his new
trying way too
Repticon
hard, you know.
Neuromancer character? What's that? Well, it's a half reptile, half Decepticon spellcaster who can cast mind-altering spells as a bonus action. It's not
Like, come
invented
on, I've
yet,
seen
but
like a
soon it
better
will be. And
or like a
players eat that
D&D
stuff up. They love
of
new
like
classes,
players
new
and Dungeon
species, new
Master
feats, and
just think of way
options.
better
And when
things than
one
WotC
player
has in their
starts talking about
sleep.
how great these options are, FOMO
Note to
will
self,
hook the others. Now,
write
can a game master say
Repticon
no? Sure,
Enforcer
technically.
into
But I
the
reviewed tons of other great
5e
games,
wiki.
and one comment I see repeated
Yes,
over and over
correct.
again: I want to play Dragonbane, I want to play Call of Cthulhu, but I can't convince my players. How is that game master going to stand up to their players who demand to only play the latest up-to-date version of D&D? And as one of the few YouTubers to actually play the VTT with the designers and the vice president, I can tell you, it's really good, and I think the tools like the Dungeon Builder are impressive. And WotC is
You know,
convinced these
honestly, you know, if there's
innovations
anything
will
that I would actually
transform
want to
D&D
come out of
into a
the
billion-dollar brand.
debacle that is
why
in the
they are
entirety of
all in on
2023,
the VTT.
I would
At
want it
least
to
that's
be
what I
that
think. What do
virtual
you think?
tabletop.
Share your thoughts in the comments below.
Yes,
Also
I
below,
agree.
you'll
That would
find
be
links to
like
the
a
Deathbringer
very
newsletter,
helpful,
Dungeon Craft Patreon,
and
where you can watch
also
the
another
Demon
way to be
Taylor,
like
and
creative and
Drive-Thru
more like
RPG, where you
online
can purchase the
TT
quick start rules for
tabletop
Deathbringer.
games.
For what it's worth, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I will see you in 2024. And as always, may all your rolls be 20s.
Mike Merles, join me, and
Mike
together
Merles,
we can
join
rule
me.
the galaxy as
Together we will
father
take
and
over the
Yeah.
internet as
Hit
father
me
and
on
son.
Facebook, and the rest
Or
of you
just have a
stick
really
by
kick-ass
t-shirt and watch more
Kickstarter
Dungeon
campaign.
Craft.
Yes, and I do have some really cool looking armor. I could get you some.
Alright. So, okay, it's going to be up to us in order to start unpacking all this now. But before we do, I'm going to need my butt cushion again. Alright, this way, Gibby.
Alright.
Alright. That's a lot better. So,
Yes, much better.
so just to take everything and put it right back in a nutshell, effectively, Hasbro in general is reporting probably some of the biggest losses that it has in several years of company history. And a lot of these equate to just failings when it comes to general toy sales.
Yes, you can say this is a historical moment in the terms of like company disasters.
And so effectively, well, I think what people are discussing the most when it comes to this situation, and by people I mean individuals who have been doing punditry on the internet, making videos about the subject matter, is that toy sales don't necessarily have anything to do with a tabletop model. And there is definitely something to be said about that. I mean, in the midst of, a situation where Wizards was actively trying to push away the majority of its fan base by scrolling back their tabletop free enterprise rules.
Yes, and if anything, try to milk money out of them.
Mhm. Well, it is to say is that they also were trying to do something along the lines of releasing a new Dungeons and Dragons movie, releasing a Dungeons and Dragon tie-in action figures, you know, and yeah, I mean, so basically, what they were doing is they were setting themselves up in order to base the success of Dungeons and Dragons on just a handful of movie projects and a handful of toy projects and the aforementioned board game, which is already at Big Lots, you know, and that didn't come to pass. Well, of course, it didn't come to pass
In
because
fact, it was more of the opposite happened.
yeah, you put people in direct opposition of your brand. That's precisely what had happened in this situation. And so the thing that really works when it comes to quote unquote official D&D is how well they um, take care of the official elements of the brand. Whether or not they put out toys based on the original cartoon series or a tie-in comic from IEW, and that's what keeps Dungeons and Dragons alive in this kind of situation. But instead, is that 2023 was a year that people were actually reminded about a very important fact when it comes to the tabletop hobby. Is that we're just making all of this up as we go along. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, well, tabletop RPGs at large, let me put it that way. Tabletop RPGs at large really just consists of a pact between two individuals. I, the DM, come up with an elaborate story on paper that I want to share with my player characters. QB, the player character, has to react to everything that I'm making up. So that's basically what the game is. I act, and he reacts. And yeah, that's basically what tabletop RPGs are. Anything else is
Yeah, we
just
coexist. We help each other, build a story along the way. We improvise. We pretty much build off of each other.
A, I throw a brick at you. B, you roll to dodge. And that's as simple as it can possibly be. Everything else is window dressing, and really, what is dependent on a successful tabletop RPG franchise is whether or not you have a preference for a particular type of window dressing. And right now, third-party companies, well, the third-party companies that they were discussing in the video are people who are really just, independently publishing or self-publishing fans of tabletop RPGs. And they're winning over a concept and a brand model that Wizards continues to keep throwing at us that, um, effectively is saying, pay a lot of attention to extraneous material like a movie. And that's what we'll judge our personal success on. And that's even, it's even the fact that, we're saying something is potentially a success or not, that might be a misnomer. Because we're judging two different criteria when it comes to tabletop RPGs as a business model.
Yes, that's correct.
One of them is effectively, buy all of our brand goods. While the other one is, hey, I've written a new story. I'm putting it out alongside this convention. I would like you to come to the convention, and I would like you to try out my book to let me know what you think. One just pays a lot more attention to what the overall agreement is between people who write stories, that would be me, and people who regularly play tabletop RPGs, which would be QB. I can't explain it simpler than this. I mean, unless I were to bring in something in the neighborhood of rocks with faces painted on them.
Just whatever kind of cloth I happen to bring with faces drawn on them.
Mm-hmm. So I think probably the one thing is that when Wizards of the Coast, eventually, throws the baby out with the bathwater, is there's still going to be a Dungeons and Dragons after that. It's just going to be composed entirely out of dusty old books that, we didn't even buy them at the Big Lots. What we did instead is we just bought them inside of used bookstores, They're hardcovers.
Yeah, it's either that or we've acquired them by various other means. Perhaps they were a gift. Perhaps you simply found them a long time ago in your place and maybe forgot about them for a while.
Mm-hmm. So, inevitably, if I were to make a suggestion here, and of course I'm not going to make a convincing suggestion because I'm just this guy who runs a tabletop RPG related channel on the internet, is I would like to see Wizards of the Coast, really just kind of embrace Dungeons and Dragons as a back burner licensing model. They have to be the ones who have to accept the fact that it doesn't really matter what material exists. People are really just going to interact with it on the level that they intend to. And so
Yeah,
this was
that makes
something.
sense
Yeah,
to me.
the original iterations of Dungeons and Dragons understood that. The Gygax iterations, the TSR iterations. Even though they had their own disagreements, and all of these people were eventually just fired off of the board, anyway. But, this is all to say that, at the end of the day, when all the stores are closed down, everybody is really just going to be pulling their tabletop material from absolutely anywhere that they want to.
Yep, your imagination is the limit. That's basically what Dungeons and Dragons was originally came from.
Mm-hmm. And
Imagination's the limit.
pretty much, and in this metaphor, you have to be another one of me. You just have to be the DM. At the end of the day, you're not going to be able to control what the consumer attitude is towards your product. But you can still be a participant in it, and you can still come off, looking like a relatively good person and having a good time within the hobby.
Exactly. It's like playing in a Dungeons game or any tabletop game in general. Or like in either way, players can't really choose how the story goes. A DM can't really stop the party from doing something stupid. But in the end of the day, hey, it's able to be he, well, a good old fun time for everyone around.
Precisely. And so we're going to go from this to probably, what is eventually just going to serve as another metaphor for this large public monstrosity. We're going to be looking at another major name brand franchise in tabletop book form. However, it was not the official franchise who created all of this material. It was the fans of this franchise that ended up creating all this material.
Yes, the creators.
The creators, the bringers of lore and media.
And the people who's some folks, they have way too much time on their hands.
Mm-hmm. Those people are in the mix here too. So we're going to start looking at Tabletop United. Oh, hang on.
Yes, Pokemon Tabletop United.
I'm a little in the dark about how headpads will work in multiplayer mode. But
yeah,
I don't think they actually do. At least not using... that's probably something I need to set up in shortcuts later. Sorry about that. I'm probably going to go back and redeem those points for you, Devin. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at Pokemon Tabletop United. And let's see what further parallels we can draw between this and what our actual interaction is as tabletop players. So here's the manual. There was a lot of material for me to comb. There was an entire website that was just kind of aggregating um, every Pokemon tabletop unofficial module that was being written up to this point. And they just consider this one to be the most recent one. We're going to read a little bit more about that later. Um, but so really just in the absence and disinterest of the Pokemon Company to create a tabletop RPG based on their own material, we present the completely fan-made project, Pokemon Tabletop United version 1.05. And so I like the cover simply because there's one logo for every single type of Pokemon. Well, specifically type of Pokemon in reference to what their elemental energy is. And
Yeah, I like it. Fairly simplistic.
and so it's important to note that these are all logos that also appear in the Pokemon TCG, Pokemon trading card game. The difference being is that there isn't logos for some specific types of Pokemon that also appear in the video game. So those are really just kind of added to that. They're fan created and they're just put on part of the put here as part of the as part of the cover. So this purple biohazard symbol would be poison. In the Pokemon TCG,
Yep,
that's
and
usually
the
folded
hexagons in threes would be the bug type.
in. And so that ordinarily would have been folded into Psychic when it comes to most type of Pokemon. They had made an official fairy logo, but that eventually also got folded into Psychic. Bug types are
Yes, I
usually
believe the
folded
bug
in.
types are also
They're usually in
providing
with
to the grass type.
They're put together with the grass type, but these are the two separate logos with the hexagons taking the place of the bug types. Ghosts are also folded in with Psychic, but this is the ghost icon. Let me see what else can
The
we piece
ice
here.
was also like folded into the water type icon, if I remember right.
Ground usually put together with fighting. I think those are the most significant ones.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure.
Flying usually just put in with normal, or if they have an alternate type, fold it into steel or just whatever those
I remember
appropriate.
when fairy type didn't exist, and the previous and the ones who were previously normal or such, or either put into like specifically like a normal or a psychic.
And so the only one that I'm completely in the dark about is this inverted triangle with the.
I believe that's the rock type.
Yeah, that
Or
might be the rock
that's
type.
the ground type, and the other one, and with the pointed like mountain, I think is actually the rock type, and
Yeah.
this like upside down triangle with the crack in it kind of represents an earthquake.
Yeah, one or the other. That's either the ground or the rock type. We'll find out more about it. That's why we're actually reading this. We take a moment in order to turn that delightful polka back on. So, skipping the copyright introduction and several of the much of the table of contents, this manual clocks in at about 508 pages, and this is also an aggregate manual because they've been taking some of the material from previous concepts of a Pokemon trading card game, and they're just folding it into this, which is the most recent version. Okay, so this is a section of the introduction. Pokemon Tabletop United is designed to handle a variety of different ideas for Pokemon Tabletop RPG campaigns. I'm clearing the throat so I can get the bubble out of my throat, and I don't want the precise opposite to happen.
Your microphone is acting up.
Let me get a little bit of water instead. You can use a system for a traditional game where the players take the role of young trainers, receiving their first Pokemon from a professor.
Brady, I'm fairly sure your microphone is acting up.
Is it?
Like your talking is rather choppy.
Well. I wonder what I can do about that, because maybe that's just the Discord feed.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, let me just try leaving and let me just try coming back. That's probably the solution for this. Okay. So where was I? Oh yes. Um, Pokemon Tabletop United is designed to handle a variety of different ideas for Pokemon Tabletop RPG campaigns. You use a system for a traditional game where the players take the role of young trainers, receiving their first Pokemon from a professor as they prepare to leave town for the first time and conquer the Pokemon League. Or you can play a campaign about Pokemon in space or a Wild West frontier exploration game. This book will provide you with all the core rules you need to play, but it is also packaged with source books that can help you to put together less traditional Pokemon campaigns. As you might have guessed already, trainers play a much more active role in Pokemon Tabletop United than they do in the video games, from giving orders and dictating battle strategy on the fly to actually fighting alongside their Pokemon. Don't let that last bit scare you, though. If you're wanting to play a lighthearted game where trainers always cheer on their Pokemon from the sidelines and Team Rocket goes home after they get beaten in a Pokemon battle, that's totally doable. I thought they were about to say double. As in a doubles Pokemon match.
Prepare for trouble. Make it double.
Make it double. Make it double Pokemon battles. Okay. The options for making trainers, yeah.
Hell, you could even make it triple a battle if you're feeling risky.
One more thing is that, I'm thinking maybe I need to just increase the text so that QB will be able to see it as well.
Yeah.
The options for making trainers in Pokemon Tabletop United are largely sorted into classes. Much like any other role-playing game, it's easy to pick and choose what you allow in a particular campaign to get the type of game you want. That said, all of the classes presented in this core document are representative of concepts that have appeared in some mainline Pokemon media, whether it be the anime, the manga, or the video games. Even if you're skeptical of trainers taking a more active role in their adventures with their Pokemon, we can recommend giving it a shot. You can skip ahead to Chapter 3 of this book and skim through the descriptions of the trainer classes to get a feel for what kind of game system this is. We've strived to make a system where most Pokemon are useful in Pokemon Tabletop United. The game balance and what works is quite different from the video games, and you'll find a lot of new strategies that are made possible with the rules in Pokemon Tabletop United. We encourage you to try the new things and innovate. What do I need to play? Runs the gamut of tabletop role-playing game dice. You will choose a number of d6s for most common skill checks, d20s for accuracy rolls in combat, and a variety of other dice for rolling damage in combat from d4s to d12s. This system provides rules for combat on a grid, though it isn't necessary to play the game. Distances can be abstracted, but the option is there if you prefer gaming with a mat and minis. Make sure you have the PDF document as well. It should be packaged along with this book in the zip file you downloaded. On the off chance you manage to find this book as a standalone PDF, simply check the forms listed in the contact section. Okay.
Yep.
The difference between PTU and PTA. As many of you may or may not be aware, Pokemon Tabletop United is a parallel successor or sister system to Pokemon Tabletop Adventures. For those of you familiar with PTA, you'll find that many character options in PTU are similar, however the games differ a lot in structure and mechanics. Trainers and Pokemon share the same set of combat stats in Pokemon Tabletop United, which means they're able to benefit from combat stages and be affected by moves and abilities that affect them, or that they rely upon manipulating stat values. This is something... Oh, wow. My scroller just went temporarily insane. So anyway, I think that this is something that is very much in line with Pokemon as a concept, because Pokemon, as much as you love your favorite Pokemon, however much you think it's cute, however much you've associated with it as your best friend, at the end of the day, it is just a few lines of code and a dropped-in image. And that is effectively what they're trying to emphasize here, is that at least between when it comes to these two sharing game systems, the one thing that they're keeping in common with both of them are the stat lists for the Pokemon. Unlike unlike PTA, there's no attribute system in PTU. Everything else is done via skills. The base class, advanced class structure is gone, making the classing options from PTA the norm rather than the special exception, and allowing more flexibility in building trainers. And finally, the biggest challenge in PTU is that there's a skill system which smoothens out interactions between trainers and Pokemon and makes it easier to adjudicate common adventuring tasks and create characters with developed specializations and interests. So what's in the box? Well, it doesn't matter. We're not looking at the box. We're just looking at the PDF.
We're looking what's around the box.
Supplement books, will probably set up a separate stream in order to read those. What is Pokemon? I think, yeah, we can already provide a good brief description about what Pokemon canon is. You know, hey QB, give me a few sentences of what the basic Pokemon canon is, and then we can just go ahead and we can skip this and start talking about tabletop game mechanics.
Oh, yeah. So, well, you see, Pokemon are pretty much like giant magical monsters, or even the smallest thing could like easily take out people in an instant, to the point where, like, a long ago, before Pokeballs were invented, humans are pretty much kept isolated in a single village and an entire region.
Wow, that was controversial.
I mean, it is reasonable though. I mean, like something like Tyranitar is literally completely indestructible, and turns the mountains into kitty litter.
Yeah, wow. You know, nothing in the neighborhood of you start out as a 10-year-old boy who's going from his home village with the goal of becoming a Pokemon trainer, meets innumerable Pokemon out into the field.
Yeah, that's the classic. You're 10 years old. This means you could go and be a Pokemon trainer. That means you can go out by yourself, explore the world, take out whatever evil teams are in your way, along with the gym badges and your rival. And you go to become the champion.
Yep.
And after going through the Pokemon League.
I mean, it was once explained pretty succinctly in a theme song that goes, I want to be the very best.
The very best.
No one ever was. Alright, so Chapter 2, Character Creation. Making trainers. Before you begin playing Tabletop United, you will need to create your training character who will be your alter ego in the world of Pokemon. Your character will be the focus of the game and the exciting adventures you have, so making the right character for yourself and the game campaign is very important. As you first read this chapter, you may come across some terms and rules you don't immediately understand. We'll be explaining everything you need to know, and you'll see green boxes showing a step-by-step example of character creation. Example: Lisa is sitting down for her first game of Pokemon Tabletop United, so she's creating a character. The GM has told the players that they'll all be teenage trainers leaving their hometown for the first time, and they'll be receiving their first Pokemon as the game starts. She decides on an energetic girl who's a daughter of the Pokeball crafter in town. She's passionate and eager to put her family's Pokeballs to use, but she's a little naive about the dangers of the world. Very succinct character background there.
Yeah, fairly classic.
You may be tempted to jump into crunching numbers immediately, especially if you're an experienced role player. Don't, or at least just take a skim through to get an idea of what's available before coming back and thinking about who you want your trainer to be. I mean, if my playing the JRPGs is any indication, I always want there to be at least one Gengar and one Quagsire on the team. Original Quagsire.
Oh yeah, you always want a Quagsire.
I don't want the poison type because then that becomes redundant. It's important
Yeah,
that this...
Clodsire.
Yeah, the Clodsire. It's important to take this step to talk to the other players at the GM about what kind of campaign you'll be playing and what character types the GM is looking for. You may be faithfully following the anime and manga and all play kids sitting out on their first Pokemon adventure, or your GM might have in mind something more specific, such as playing rookies in a detective agency under the command of Looker, or even as grunts of Team Rocket. Whoa, well, that's a somewhat obscure piece of lore right there. You only need a brief idea for now, and you can expand on it later.
Yeah.
Okay, creating a background, that's self-explanatory. Skills represent conscious interest and training that your character uses to interact with the world, as well as incorporating a trainer's natural talent. Skills are used for the most basic interactions between yourself and the game world, and they help determine what classes and features your trainer qualifies for. You may want to read up skills in Tabletop United page 33 before continuing with writing a background and the next step in character creation. All skills except for those you modified by your background begin at untrained before edges and features are chosen, so your choices here will have a huge impact on your character. A list of example backgrounds can be found on the following page, but you may simply choose to make up your own with the approval of the GM, of course. Simply choose one skill to raise one adapt rank and one skill to raise to a novice rank, then 3 skills to lower one rank down to pathetic. Pathetic skills cannot be raised above pathetic during character creation. Be sure to give an evocative name to your custom background. So, I don't know if we subscribe to a canonical Pokemon name scheme. I mean, of course, in the English versions of the Japanese games, all of the characters have English-sounding names. But then there's also just a kid out there named Blue, a kid out there named Red.
Yeah. And then there's someone like Silver, Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, fairly much like ever since like in generations 1 and 2, like your name is pretty much a color.
It allows you to go out in the world and say, I am the main character. I am the person whose actions affect everything.
Chartreuse!
Yeah, fortunately we didn't go quite that deep.
I can just imagine like some Pokemon trainer actually saying their name is Chartreuse, and then they spend like way too long of time like just explaining what the color Chartreuse even is.
Well, I think I've already got my player character idea.
Oh, and what would that be, Mr. Brady?
Alright. Features are what really make a trainer stand out and provide most of their definition and functionality in the game. There are a number of general features available to all trainers in Tabletop United, but most features are tied to trainer classes. Classes are special features that act as gateways to groupings of related features that are strongly tied to a particular concept. Like, for example, Pokemon Ranger. You're probably not listening, Game Freak, but please give us a sequel.
Yes, we want more Pokemon Ranger.
If you're familiar with other RPGs, even if not tabletop RPGs, you probably know about the common set of the warrior, the rogue, and the wizard as character classes. I feel so called out right now. The same idea applies here, but you'll be finding classes such as Ace Trainer, Coordinator, and Capture Specialist, which are much more tied to the concepts of Pokemon. Sample backgrounds, okay, well, we're the advanced class. We don't need no stinking backgrounds. I am looking very fervently towards actually reading the class section, though. Assign combat stats. Tabletop United uses 6 combat stats used in the video games. If you're familiar with the video games, then these don't need no introduction. HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. Well, yeah. But those are usually the stats for the Pokemon. I think what we're looking for is a differentiation between that and what these stats mean for trainers. Speed is a measure of how quick a trainer or a Pokemon is and determines order in combat. Hit points, which represent your ability to take hits and keep going. Yeah, so probably what's most distinct about that is that there's an element of how fast your trainer is capable of giving orders and how good your Pokemon is to reacting to them. Example, Lisa decides her trainer is quick in battle and assigns her combat stats as 13 HP, 7 attack, 5 defense, 5 special effects, 5 special attacks, 5 special defenses, and 10 speed. With the 2 HP tags from before, her final HP is 15. So they are actually giving HP points to trainers as well. HP is very important both for Pokemon and for trainers. Even if you're making a glass cannon build, you can't neglect too much or be sorry. Seriously, you'll be miserable if you do. And so this is an interesting illustration.
Yeah, like, if you have low enough HP, like, I'm pretty sure, like, a single fart could probably send you in a Family Guy death pose.
I mean, the only time we've ever seen Pokemon officially make contact with trainers is in Pokemon Legends Arceus. discussing about a time when
Yeah.
Pokemon and humans were not as familiar with each other and so would attack each other fairly frequently. More often than not, a Pokemon's attacks would make a human pass out and then have to be dragged back to their camp by the people that were assisting them with the safari. So this is a really interesting illustration. The illustrations in this book is just kind of made up entirely of, fan art. That was either
Yes, very
just
much.
some of it just directly ripped from sites like DeviantArt, but this one is a particularly
Yes.
nice one right there. So here we have
Although
all
I'm
the
fairly sure, like, if the Pokemon franchise was just a little bit more into like the teens area, like Legends Arceus, if you were taken out by like a noble one, like you would just be straight up dead, like in the ground. Game over. You're
Yeah.
a Ghastly now.
I mean, I look at this and I want to make a campaign built entirely out of people who have Honedge. But that's
I
me.
actually would look. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah. Okay. Derived stats. Your skills, combat stats, and more feed into a number of other stats that are used in combat, as well as capabilities that determine how much your character can lift, how fast it can move, and more. For more details on how capabilities are used in playing the game, see the section on capabilities on 222. Action points are resource points used to power their features. Trainers have 5 AP plus 1 more for every 5 trainer levels. At level 10, a trainer has 7 AP. For example, AP refreshes at the start of each scene. Trainer hit points are trainer's level times 2 plus HP times 3 plus 10. So I guess that's like a multiple of your trainer's level, and then a multiple of what your current HPs were, and then plus 10 points, which is actually quite a lot. It takes a lot more to knock out a human being than it does a Pokemon. Evasion helps trainers and Pokemon avoid attacks. 3 types of evasion: physical evasion, special evasion, and speed evasion. To calculate these values, divide the related combat stat by 5 and round down. You may never have more than plus 6 in a given evasion from combat stats alone. These derived stats will be described in further detail in the combat chapter. Power is a measure of raw physical strength and ability to lift heavy objects. Knowing quite well that Ash Ketchum is capable of lifting up incredibly giant and dense Pokemon like Cosmog, which has actually as heavy as an entire collapsed star.
Yes, he's also lifted such a notably heavy Pokemon like Pignite and Larvitar are above his head. And like in the Sinnoh part of the anime, he has like thrown big logs off of a road with a little effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 11-year-old is a beast. What can we say?
Yeah, no wonder you two actually decide to block his attack at him with a psychic barrier. He's not taking any chances.
Yep. High jump determines how high a trainer or Pokemon can jump in meters. A trainer's high jump starts at 0, but is raised by several factors. If your aerobics is adept, raise it by 1. If your aerobics is master, raise it by an additional 1. If you have a running start when jumping, raise your high jump by 1. Note that a high jump of 0 doesn't mean that you can't jump, it just means you have to make a skill check to determine how high you can jump and whether you breach 1 meter. Long jump probably...
Yeah, so like the actual Pokemon move, high jump kick, where there's a good percentage that you might miss, and if you do miss, you'll take damage.
Mm-hmm. So long jump probably exactly the same stats as high jump. Overland movement speed is how quickly a trainer can move over flat land. For trainers, this value is equal to 3 plus half the sum of their athletics by aerobics ranks. At default, the value is 5. So that is, once again, overland athletics, 3 plus athlete plus acro divided by 2. Swimming speed for a trainer is equal to half of their overland speed. Features and other bonuses grant general boost for movement speed only to grant it to movers movement speeds, which you already gave. Giving a trainer a +4 bonus to all their movement speeds does not suddenly grant them flight. However, features and abilities that grant specific movement boosts do. A feature that grants +4 levitate speed causes that trainer to have a levitate speed of 4 if they did not already have a levitate speed. Throwing range is how far a trainer can throw Pokeballs. This is the important one. Equal to 4 plus athletics rank. And size is how big you are. Trainers are medium by default. Your trainer's weight matters too. A trainer between 55 and 100 pounds is a weight class 3. Between 111 pounds and 220 pounds is WC4. Higher than that is WC5. I feel called out again.
Yeah, or in Ash's case, not just Pokeballs, but also flat out giant logs.
Hold me, QB. Alright, basic descriptions. Your character is now mostly complete as far as the game mechanics go, but now's the time when you should take care to flesh out your character's appearance, personality, and anything else. I mean, I do need to remind you that I'm still in search of what Pokemon trainer classes are. It can be fun to talk to the other players and develop loose interconnections or shared history between your trainers. Okay, yeah, that's basic. Choosing Pokemon. It's a good practice to have the players pick those Pokemon before the game starts and allow them to stat up the Pokemon and learn how they work. You just want to discuss with your DM that at some point I would like to run into a Flaffy. That's it. You can go ahead and do that if you want, QB. Tell me you want to run into a Flaffy.
Yeah, so Flaffy wouldn't be too bad of a place to start, or it's a pre-evolution of Mary.
Oh, come on. I suspect that you have a more of a favorite electric type than that.
Well, I mean, it is, though.
I mean, I like Ampharos. I kind of feel somewhat bad that it loses absolutely all of its wool in its fully evolved form.
However, it does get quite a bit of it back in the Mega form.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so, there's lots of different kinds of additional evolution types, but this version of the rulebook mostly does work with Mega Evolution Pokemon, so at least we got that going for us.
There is a section in here, if I do remember right.
All right. Money and items. I mean, yeah, pretty much, yeah, probably the same as the video game. Quick start steps: create a character concept, create a skill background, choose edges, choose features, and assign combat stats. Trainers okay, well, yeah, I mean, so that's just a quick sheet that goes over all the stuff that we already took the time in order to read verbatim. Character advancement. Every level you gain the stat points. Trainers don't follow base regulations, so, well, don't follow base relations, so feel free to spend these freely. Every odd level you gain a feature, every even level you gain an edge. So, I mean, you know, just as far as level ups go, there is actually, you know, just a very expected ramp that you go up with. It's not like Dungeons and Dragons where everything is really just written out on the stat list and you just kind of have to follow the stat list growth. You're just given points for everything that you can potentially raise, and you can use that for how much you get to level up your trainer. Level 2 Adept skills. Gain all bonuses below. You can now qualify to rank up skills to Adept. You can gain a skill edge or for which you qualify. It may not be used to rank up a skill to an Adept rank. That basically means that if you want to add 1 point to your ability to jump, then it would really just be going from a rank of weak to a rank of Adept. And then just every other ramp up that follows that one.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, you're a Kangaskhan trainer. You absolutely want to get really good at jumping.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so level 5 amateur trainer, 1 bonus below. Every even number level up from level 6 through level 7, you gain +1 stat point that must be spent on an attack or a special attack. You also gain +2 stat points for presenting levels 2 and 4 retroactively. Gain 1 additional feature for which you qualify. Level 6 expert skills, gain bonuses below. You can qualify to rank up skills to expert. You can gain 1 skill edge for which you qualify. It may not be used to rank up a skill to expert rank. Level 10 capable trainer, level 12 master skills, level 20 veteran trainer, level 30 elite trainer, level 40 champion trainer. Progression chart. handy dandy chart that lists what you get at each level as well as your bonus choices at level 5, 10, 20, 30, and 40. So basically, once again, using the Dungeons and Dragons example, all of these charts would be based on class. Here they're just simply stating that you're able to get all of these levels at alternating, all of these features at alternating levels that are also split between odd and even levels. Yeah. And so basically you're going by a different chart, as you rank up, starting with amateur, capable, veteran, elite trainer, champion. And then retraining. Sometimes traders wish to go back on certain choices. By spending some experience to retrain, they can spend time changing themselves. Retraining should be done during resting periods, in character, and in between sessions if possible. You must have the appropriate amount of trainer experience to spend. You cannot go back a level in order to do so. There are your retraining options and associated experience costs. You can spend 2 trainer experience to retrain a feature, 1 trainer experience to retrain an edge, or 1 trainer experience to move 1 stat point to another stat. There are, however, several rules to retraining. You cannot retrain an edge or feature that serves as a prerequisite for another edge or feature you have. So you can't suddenly lose your ability to swim to gain your ability to jump. You cannot retrain edges or features that induce permanent effects that you have already used them. If you use move, tutor, or type shift, for example, you cannot retrain those features. You should, in general, consult your GM before retraining. If you feel you have used a feature too often and too noticeably in character, it may not make sense for you to retrain. Giving players a chance to retrain a few times during campaign without sacrificing experience may be a good idea. This can be done simply by GM fiat or by consulting a specific NPC or, well, you get the idea. It would also be generous to let players retrain or even redo significant portions of their player character if balance changes makes their build possible or very suboptimal. Keep in mind that this is fan-made beta system and changes are going to be rolling through. If you have new players at the table, you should give them more wiggle room to re-speculate as well.
And DMs should be able to also make whatever changes they think would work, or to make the campaign more interesting.
Well, I mean, in this situation, we're going to do this within rules and discussion. It's not, we're not saying it
I
in
know,
exactly.
But still, I know about the rules, but still,
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm kind of dumb.
Well, it's just all I'm trying to say is we don't do it in the same gung ho way as we say to wizards. This is my tabletop RPG. We're gonna do what we want.
Yeah, makes sense.
Let me see. Common art. The next few pages describe some of the common archetypes in Pokemon World and how they may be constructed with PTU classes. Okay, I think we're finally at the class section. Hooray! Pick an archetype that interests you or a character you would like to take inspiration, and then follow the advice on which classes to start with and the options for developing from there. If that's still not enough, here's some tips and advice you get started with a very basic character. Start by picking an introductory class. There are ace trainers, capture specialists, commanders, coordinators, hobbyists, mentors. Ace trainer, commander, and mentor in particular are very neutral to any sort of battling style a Pokemon team preference. Then pair that with a battling style class or specialist team class. The latter will do more to restrict what kinds of Pokemon you want to capture as the campaign goes on, but it will also make it much easier for you to make decisions about captures and your team. The former will give you a little more wiggle room in choosing Pokemon and will define your character's playstyle. Pairing an ace trainer, mentor, or a commander with a cheerleader, an enduring soul, or a duelist will make for an easy starting build. So, probably something that I have to say about here, and this is really just kind of a bit of dissonance that I have with Pokemon in general, is that, you start out as a character that really doesn't have any kind of specific preference, and you never are really asked to get one.
It's not even something like where a lot of things like RPGs do, where they let you they kind of make your character your own. That's kind of not there in Pokemon.
Yeah. And in contrast to that, you run into a lot of people who do specialize. You run into swimmers, you run into mountain climbers, you run into bug catchers,
Heck, you even run into people whose careers or specialties don't even mainly involve fighting. The president of the Pokemon fan club.
Mm-hmm. And so, something else that's interesting to this is that one time I heard a fan theory is that in every single Pokemon game, you are effectively the single most privileged person that can potentially become a Pokemon trainer. You're somebody who is close friends with a professor, and it's really the fact that you're in the field of Pokemon research that you have virtually unlimited access to all of the resources you can possibly have as a Pokemon trainer. All of the bug catchers and swimmers, etc., that you run into are people who don't have that advantage.
I mean, that really makes sense. I mean, after all, at Pokemon, so you are able to buy like 999 potions or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you walk up to that youngster, yeah. You run into that youngster on route number 5, and you say to yourself, "Oh my God, that kid has got to have like 9 Pidgeys." Poor kid.
Yeah, reminds you like the Rattata kid.
Mm-hmm. Why don't I just give you this? Rattata. Yeah. Why don't I give you this level 16 Pikachu that I ran into on the way over here? Maybe that'll help you.
Yeah, here, take this thing. Like, it has perfect IVs. Just leave me alone, okay?
It's not even shiny.
Please, just leave me alone.
You're talking to a guy who's captured 100 Lapras and then released them into the water during Gold and Silver so that they wouldn't be endangered anymore.
I remember, reading a Reddit post where, somebody said that their little brother specifically did this because he was sad that Lapras are endangered.
Mm-hmm. All right. Broadly speaking, you can choose between supporting your Pokemon or being a direct combatant yourself. Trainer combat classes match best with each other, but you can make more passive Pokemon support options like Mentor and Ace Trainer work too. When you start gaining the bonuses that give you progression choices, you'll want to remain focused here as well. Trainer combat builds want to pick the stat points while others generally want the edges or general features. Think ahead of what your skill choices are too. Do you have a class where you want to take further down the line? Start investing the bonus edges you get early on towards the prerequisites for that class, so you don't find yourself unable to take it when the time is right. And so this is an interesting little wrinkle to all of this, is that as a trainer, you think about the possibility that you might want to be a specialist trainer. And you can go in that direction or you can't, but it's entirely based on your ability in order to gain experience and your ability in order to choose the proper skill sets. So it's kind of the opposite.
I don't really see that much in Pokemon either.
No, to use the Pokemon game example, it would be, you play your generic character named Red, but at some point you decide specifically, well, I want to train nothing but grass-type Pokemon, and that's what you do from that point forward. You turn yourself into the bird catcher or the etc., etc.
Yeah, so remember, I do recall specifically that some players online do something similar to this as the Nuzlocke challenges.
Mm-hmm. So I like ghost types personally.
Yeah, same here.
I would want Miss Magius to be.
Technically am one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would want Miss Drevius to be my ace Pokemon. Well, Miss Magius to be my ace Pokemon. And I think you had a friend who was playing a fan game once, and I gave him a list of 6 Pokemon that are just based on mythology. That was pretty cool.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm. So I had a Golem, and I had a Grimmsnarl, and I had a Berserker.
Yeah, the classic Berserker.
Mm-hmm. Is that, you mentioned Meowth in any capacity. Within 2 or 3 seconds, you're going to do the voice. Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, Jesse and James.
Yeah, we'll get there just yet, kiddo. In just a second. But first, we gotta go to the pub. Specifically, the pub that I own.
Okay, building trainer archetypes. As you think about how you want to build your character, You may turn to the Pokemon anime, manga, or other media for inspiration. The archetypes in Pokemon canon can be easily reproduced in tabletop by mixing and matching classes. If you're new to the system or simply stumped on how to build a certain archetype, read on for a list of archetypes and some introductory advice on building them. The Spirited Battler. This trainer achieves victory through sheer tenacity and spirit, believing in their Pokemon 100%. They may not necessarily use
Ash?
the most... Yeah, it's pretty much just Ash. They may not necessarily use the most naturally powerful species or display the best understanding of tactics, but their hard work and training will carry them to great heights.
Yes, the Ash class.
I mean, notable examples. Ash. Key skills, Charm and Command. Start with an Ace
yep,
Trainer or a Cheerleader. Ace Trainer will give you a leg up in
really
battle.
know about Charm in comparison to Ash. I mean, did he straight up call Brock's dad a deadbeat?
Well, I mean, to be fair, Brock's daddy is a deadbeat.
Yes, I know, it's true, and he deserved it, but still, well, charisma is not the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Ash.
No, honestly, I think he was completely ambivalent to it, and this is actually Ash's dad who called himself a deadbeat. I think that's what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, all the times where he just kept insulting people and just a wonderfully hilarious degree.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the contrast between
So I
the two
guess
characters
that could be, like,
is that...
part of charisma.
I mean, so this kind of speaks to the hierarchical nature of Pokemon once again. Because Ash is a person who's never going to give up until he becomes a champion, but Brock's dad is somebody who just got tired after a while, decided to slink back and give his kids a chance.
Huh, I see in that kind of way, it actually does make sense why Ash would, like, just go right out the gate at Brock's dad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you also gotta think he doesn't really have a dad either, so that one strikes a nerve.
Yeah, I kind of, like, hit a little too close to home.
Okay, so let's read a little bit more of this.
Yeah, and you
Ash
will not believe
build.
all the fan theories I have read over my lifetime where people think that Ash's dad is Giovanni.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in kind of a funny way, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
I mean,
And so, I mean, Giovanni, like, does send, like, his least effective ghouls time and time again and to, like, attempt to take his Pikachu.
I mean, it also kind of makes sense within the video game context, because if you were in a situation where, you're trying to leverage all of the power Pokemon can possibly have, get ready to take over the world, and then you lose a battle to a 10-year-old kid. That's the spirit breaker right there.
Yeah, I think it's actually canon that Genthis, like, when he lost to his own, when he lost a 10-year-old kid, he just, like, mentally snapped. Not once, but twice.
Mm-hmm. Didn't even get
Yeah, I'm fairly sure, like, Colress had a midlife crisis in Alola when we saw him in there.
I mean, the emphasis here is on not giving up. I'm not going to say, okay, well, I give up. Okay, go ahead and have the badge right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Ash build. Choice between either having the Ace Trainer or the Cheerleader as your class. Ace Trainer gives you a leg up in battle even when using weaker Pokemon, provided you're able and willing to put in the time to train them. Their features tend to emphasize hard work and training and are a good representation of how spirited battles approach Pokemon battling. Cheerleader provides options such as Go, Fight, and Win, which simulate how trainers such as Ash can pull victory from the jaws of defeat through having faith in their Pokemon. The general feature orders and training features are also good options for spirited battlers wanting to expand their active options. The Duelist class also fits well, gaining momentum over time in a fight. From there, spirited battlers can expand into Enduring Soul if they want their Pokemon to be tough enough to power through the many battles with force of will, or into Mentor to represent their belief in their Pokemon and their strong bonds in unlocking the hidden potential of their Pokemon. The Caretaker. This trainer is the team mom or dad of their traveling party. They make sure that everyone, human and Pokemon, is well fed and taken care of. They may or may not be the best friends, but you can be sure They are who you want to see after a tough battle. Notable examples are Brock
So
and
this is
Daisy O.
essentially
Yeah.
the Brock build, like the anime Brock build.
Mm-hmm. Intuition, key skills: intuition, medicine, education. Starting with mentor, researcher, or chef. The mentor is the quintessential caretaker. Trainers embodying the caretaker are often skilled Pokemon breeders, and Pokemon caretaking brand of researcher perfectly fits these characters. Not only can they make sure their age produce a particular special Pokemon, but they can make their Pokemon excel in their special capabilities. The chef and the researcher branches out that craft and medicine and grow herbs provide the most direct caretaking role, supplying their companions with food and taking care of their medical treatment respectively. From there, what classes you choose will largely depend on your focus. Caretakers often run the risk of falling into a rut, having no actions to take place in battle or places to spend their AP. Those who want a more active role should consider the Sage so they can give their party blessings in battle. Caretakers who are considered with leading their companions through the wilderness might end up taking Survivalist class. So everything from this forward is the types of specialization trainers. The tactician, the trainer aims to win with smarts, not brawn. They're focused on developing the most effective tactics to win, and they may employ a wide range of Pokemon, focusing on status afflictions, hazards, blessings, and clever combinations of Pokemon and moves to overcome foes with more sheer offensive strength. Notable examples are Red and Conway. Key skills are Guile, Intuition, and Command, and they can start with Commander or Mentor. So, we're making this distinction between the main character of Pokemon Blue, who is Red, and the main character of the Pokemon anime, who is Ash. And that is to say that this is not a with Red, it's not a matter of actually having the utmost faith and belief in your Pokemon. It's a matter of being as tactical as you possibly can with your Pokemon.
Yes, it's sort of sometimes the strongest isn't who hits harder. It's what you can do with what you have.
Mm-hmm. So, the commander is quintessential for a tactician character. They focus on using orders to enhance particular strategies, such as using high critical hit rate moves or making inaccurate attacks more reliable. They are also able to make the most of hazards, buffs, and other indirect and support moves. Mentor, of course, is a great fit for the archetype, as well. Hiccup. Within their ability to teach Pokemon moves earlier than normal and allow them to retain more moves. Even without Mastermind, all the orders and the general features are good choices for a tactician and represent the ability to give their Pokemon tactical advice on the fly. You may also want to focus on Ace Trainer for the boost to EXP and the benefits of trained stats. Later on, the Ace's signature technique feature can give tacticians a crucial edge in battle and a unique battling style. Other good choices include classes that specialize in a certain subset, such as the Type and Stat Aces and the Style Expert. The Juggler also makes an interesting tactician object due to all of the strategies made available with the ability to quickly cycle through a team of Pokemon. Tacticians who want to shy away from direct assaults and instead outwit their opponents with tricky status class moves may pick up the Trickster class. So, if you've played a significant amount of Pokemon Stadium on the N64, chances are you were a juggler. I mean, that is simply the fact that you need to switch what your Pokemon strategy is on the fly in order to get through all of the complicated single battles that are in that game. Tacticians should be careful not to overwhelm themselves with outlets for AP and standard actions in battle, given their often high use of orders and reliance in active Pokemon support classes. It can be a good idea to pick up a class more focused on passive Pokemon support after nabbing your core classes, which is why Stat and Type Aces were recommended. Then the Professor's Assistant, the Teacher's Pet. Notable examples are Gary. I think that's kind of that's kind of an interesting choice.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that's a given. He is the grandson of Professor Oak.
And
which,
so,
by the way, I think it's been officially confirmed that Professor Oak, not even knowing his grandson's name is apparently some kind of practical joke he likes to pull on Gary.
mm-hmm. I mean, This is the thing that your mentors have a tendency to do to you. They just make you think that you're weak in in one area or another, so that they can make you just put added emphasis on whatever it is he's trying to teach you.
Yeah, but then again, I saw like some kind of YouTube video where like a much darker or explanation was that it was just flat out dementia. So
Mm. I mean, I'm sure people just like to play that way. But
yeah.
thank you, Internet, for giving me a dark counterpoint to everything that I ever enjoyed as a child.
Yes, thank you, world. Yes, thank you for helping me ruin other people's childhoods.
So I remember there was a season, I believe this was the Diamond and Pearl season, just the same one where Dawn was the assistant character, is that Ash ran into a rival who was actually somebody who was using standard power leveling when it came to his Pokemon strategy. And it was effectively that, the first time Ash meets him, he catches 3 Spearow at the same time and then releases 2 of them, because he's looking for the one that immediately has the biggest stats.
Oh yeah.
And Ash took an enormous amount of umbrage with this. Gets right into his face and tells him any Pokemon can be great if you train them.
Yeah, I mean, he's right.
Mm. And so that was also just partially, the difference between him and Gary was that, Gary had always kind of trained somewhat with an emphasis on having the strongest Pokemon he possibly could have on his team. And when they talked about this at the same time with Professor Oak, he just told them, you guys both have perfectly valid concepts when it comes to how you train your Pokemon. So,
Yeah.
Gary's
In
a
my
jerk.
eyes, Gary isn't a complete he's not really a complete jerkwad. He's more like that childhood friend who you're still friends with to this day, and you both kind of jokingly insult each other all the time.
And just when we moved forward from that, then we did actually run into rivals that were jerkwads.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that Sinnoh was when the Pokemon anime started really getting a little too into actual Pokemon abuse.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the in-game rival from Gold and Silver was really just a literal hoodlum. He was a criminal.
Yeah, I mean, he actually literally stole a starter Pokemon from Elm.
Okay.
Yeah,
so...
and yet still not a good Pokemon thief enough to not just somehow drop his passport on the ground for everybody to see, and probably also dropped his Target gift card too.
Okay. I'm just going to finish out this paragraph, and I'm going to look ahead a little bit because we've got right about 10 minutes left on the stream. So I want to make sure that, we are getting past the trainer basics and then getting on to class specialization. And then we can go ahead and we can close this, and then we can look at Pokemon for our very next stream.
Alright, sounds good to me.
Okay, so let's see. In the early levels, having more edges available to gain skill ranks is important, particularly in education skills, such as Pokemon education. Researcher is an obvious option that allows a trainer to quickly gain many education skill ranks at a low level. If you're building a trainer who isn't as focused on academic study and emphasizes helping professor with fieldwork, consider a class like a capture specialist or a hobbyist. Hobbyist provides valuable additional skill ranks for low-level trainers, but doesn't bind them to education skills like Researcher does, while Capture Specialist allows a trainer to excel at the classical task given to Pokedex holders, which is catching them all. From there, your choice of where to expand will largely depend on the goals of your research and study. A professor's assistant is more geared towards fieldwork, and observation may go into survivalists to get better at navigating the wilderness of Hunter to aid in their capturing activities. Chronicler may also be valuable for travel archives and would fit the high perception needed for the job. A more academic professor's assistant or someone aiming to become a professor themselves will likely dig themselves deep into the field of study that they're interested in, possibly making multiple instances of the researcher class as they master more fields. The chemistry branch is a good option for trainers who may wish to make their own Pokemon as part of their research. For example, while fossil Pokemon experts would choose paleontology. Okay, so From here, we go to the specialist, we go to the sportsman, the outdoorsman, the performer. So these are all still slightly more above the line of individuals who are, choosing Pokemon or effectively Pokemon jobbing. You know, thief, law enforcement, mad scientist, sleuths, ladies, the gentleman or the lady, the occultist, the psychic, the mystic, and then that's rounds out that
your
section.
guardians.
Mm-hmm. So from here, we're just going to go into skills, edges, and feats, additional specialization for what your Pokemon character is going to be. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start here. We're going to pick up on this read next Wednesday. So, hopefully, I will be able to have a QB here again. Pokemon specialization.
Yes, I would love to.
Yeah, one of the corner reasons why I certainly enjoy having these little discussions. I mean, so the art is nice, as we had already mentioned. This is mostly populated by art that had already existed on DeviantArt, etc. And they just have it so that in the event that somebody wants their art taken off, that they can email them, and then they can just go ahead and release another version of the PDF afterwards. But hey, it's good
it's
art.
Really nice.
We love Pokemon fan art, don't we?
Yeah, very good art.
We stand Pokemon fan art on Brady the RPG
We
Cat.
love Pokemon fan art.
Yes.
We
All right.
love all sorts of Pokemon fan stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, this concludes our broadcast day. Thank you very much, QB, for joining me. I am going to be back on Friday, and on Friday, I'm going to be doing some, I'm actually going to be doing some miniature painting. We're going to be painting Warhammer miniatures, and we're also probably going to be doing some building for that. So, thank you, everybody, once again, for tuning in. This has been Brady the RPG Cat. Have a good night, everybody. Remember, BRANY means smart. Nothing's too hard if you use your head. And well, actually, for that matter, what does KYUBEY stand for? What does that spell?
Not really much. It's just like Cube. It's just like it's a kind of a cute name.
I know. I just thought you would make it up. You would come up with a one-word virtue or something like that. If I say BRANY means smart, what would you say KYUBEY stands for?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to do a raid now. Let's see, who would we like to pay a visit to? Might be interesting to go to Meoppenheimer. We are here Expeditionists. We also have Amandel, who's playing Conan Exiles. Oh, OS Devon, who is actually our mod. He's online right now, and he's playing World of Warcraft.
Oh, let's go do him.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's pay him a visit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go over to OS Devon's channel. Thank you very much for being our mod. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to watch your channel with you. Alrighty, everybody. Yeah, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Had a good evening, everybody. We'll see you again on Friday. Thank you very much for watching.
Yep, bye-bye.